Hey, Martin from BizGuard. Just wanted to make a quick video. If you're watching this, whether or not you're a BizGuard client or not, I just wanted to kind of provide some updates on some of the key things that Microsoft's been doing, because we're in 2026 already, and these announcements just are coming hard and fast now. We're only in March, but there's a couple of key things you really need to know about if you're using Microsoft 365. So the first thing that I want to cover off is Copilot for Business. This is a big one. Finally, Copilot for Business is now available on a month-to-month licensing basis, so you no longer have to do the annual commit. This is brand new. It's only as of March this year. The Microsoft Copilot license, so we're talking about Copilot for Business. There's also just the Microsoft Copilot, or they're starting in some stuff to call it Copilot for Enterprise. It's the exact same thing. They released Copilot for Business, though, at a reduced price point, and it is limited to 300 licenses per customer. So it kind of aligns it with the Business Basic, Business Standard, Business Premium licensing model. So the idea is that, look, if you're watching this, you're probably going to be able to use Copilot for Business. So if you do have some older licensing, which is the full, more expensive Copilot that probably predates the release of Copilot for Business at the end of last year, when you're due for your renewal, it's definitely worth looking at Copilot for Business to just swap those licenses out. You get the exact same thing, you're just going to pay a bit less. If we're managing your licensing for you already, if you are a BizGuard client and you're getting billed from us for your licensing, we'll take care of all of that as part of the renewals. But Copilot for Business, very, very exciting that you can now pay for it monthly. Like all the other Microsoft options, if you compare the annual prepaid versus the month-to-month option, it's just 10% of the annual figure is your monthly. So you're basically, when you're paying annually, you're still effectively getting 2 months for free. But it's the exact same model with Copilot for Business. So it does mean that you can now deploy it for just a couple of months if you want to have a play with it, rather than needing to commit for a full year on it. And if you've got users coming and going, you don't need to worry about the fact that you've got these annual licenses that you're stuck with. So it's actually a really, really good improvement in my view. The next one is Microsoft is clamping down on how they're handling end of subscription grace periods. So the primary part of this change is targeted for clients who are doing annual subscriptions. Typically, when you have an annual subscription, it will either auto-renew, or we can disable auto-renew, or through the Microsoft portal, if you're a retail licensed client, you can disable it yourself. And it means when you get to the end of the 12 months, it's not going to automatically commit you for another 12 months. Now, what Microsoft are changing is, rather than the old model, which was either you renew, in which case it's another 12 months, or you choose to not renew, in which case you get 30 days grace period at the end to kind of put replacement licensing in place. They're getting rid of that grace period now. So for annual licenses, we now have a choice of either kill the license instantly, in which case it immediately on expiry is removed from your environment and no longer works. It means any services relying on that licensing get disabled as well. Or you can opt to pay an interim monthly figure, which is a bit lower than the normal month-to-month price, but higher than what you would be paying equivalent on the annual. The idea being that you can extend it for a little while longer to make your decision. So that's for annual licenses, but it's also actually relevant even if you don't have annual licenses. As we have learned the hard way, Microsoft are also clamping down on the grace period if your subscriptions are disabled due to a billing issue. So for example, if you are licensed direct through Microsoft and your credit card bounces, or you've forgotten to top it up, and so that invoice does not get paid, we've now seen customers as quickly as 48 to 72 hours after that invoice date, they're actually getting switched off. Previously, they would have a 30-day grace period as well, but that's been dramatically reduced now. Fortunately, it's not instantaneous. So it's not like the second your credit card bounces that you're toast, but they only give you 2 or 3 days now. So really, really important that you're aware of that, because if you fall behind on your Microsoft invoices, you're going to be stuffed. If you're one of those people who is paying them manually and you don't have saved credit card details in your billing profile, I know there are some clients that are probably still set up like that. You now can't get away with dragging those invoices out. They have to be paid within the first couple of days of their due date. Obviously, if your licensing is through us, that's not going to really affect you, because we would consult with you and try to actually call you before turning you off, but Microsoft don't care. So really, really important that you make sure you stay on top of your Microsoft billing if you are paying Microsoft directly. Again, if you're not direct with Microsoft, you can kind of ignore it, because we'll manage all of that for you. Let's talk price increases. So We've already talked to a few clients about this, but as of 1st of July this year, Microsoft are putting up some of their pricing. It is affecting a bunch of plans. Now, for those watching, most likely what will be relevant is that Business Basic and Business Standard licenses will be increasing. Business Premium notably will not. That one had the most recent price increase a couple of years ago. The other ones haven't. And so Microsoft are now bringing up the pricing on those as well. There's a lot of price increases across the enterprise license suite as well. I'm not going to get bogged down with that. I haven't seen the Australian dollar pricing just yet, but I know the USD pricing is going up by around about $1 to $2 per user per month. So that gives you kind of a rough idea for that flavor of what that increase is going to look like. The enterprise licenses in some cases are going up by $3 to $5 if you're going right up to like the E5s, for example. So there's a bit of a bigger delta with those ones, but for the small business ones, it really is just $1 or $2 US per user per month. So it's not dramatic, and it's been a few years since they've done a price rise. They haven't done any exchange rate adjustments, so it's kind of fair enough in my view. But just something that you should definitely be aware of. Now, the way the pricing works, though, if you and this is something again that we will work our way through all of our clients to help you if we are managing your licensing. If you do an annual commit just before that 1st of July deadline, you will be able to leverage the lower price point for the next 12 months. So again, we'll help you game the licensing as best as possible if you are a BizGuard client and you're buying your licenses through us. So we'll proactively come to you and organize that as we approach the mid-year mark. Now, it's not just a price increase for nothing. You do get something, and there's actually a couple of things that are included. 3 key things on the Business Basic, Business Standard, Business Premium side. Again, I'm just focusing on that at the moment for this video. 3 key things that you're going to get, which are really, really interesting. So the first one is Microsoft are increasing mailbox sizes. So by default right now, for your Business Basic, Business Standard, Business Premium license, you get a 50 gigabyte per mailbox limit, and they're increasing that to 100 gigabytes per mailbox. So all of those 3 licenses will give you 100 gig. That's right. Even Business Premium, which is not going up in price, will give you 100 gig of primary mailbox storage now instead of the 50 gig that you had previously, which is pretty damn cool. So just to dwell on that for a second, I know for some of our clients, we've had to apply Exchange Plan 2 licenses, which Exchange Plan 2 bumps your mailbox size up to 100 gig and does a few other things as well. But we have a number of clients where I know for a fact they've had mailbox sizes increase and didn't want to do archiving. So we've put that license on there just to game the extra storage space. We can then come back and basically pull those back off again. So again, if you're buying your licensing through us, you just leave it to us. We'll make sure that it's all correct and you're paying as little as possible. We'd rather not pay Microsoft any more than we have to. So mailbox sizes, pretty exciting stuff. The other 2 things are a bit less exciting. One is that Business Basic and Business Standard are going to get some additional email security included out of the box, which is pretty good. It's stuff that Business Premium already comes with, but there's going to be extra link scanning stuff. So it'll just improve your email security as emails come in. There'll be some extra stuff. Normally, you'd need a Defender Plan 1 license for this particular feature, but this one feature they're adding into those basic and standard licenses as well. So it doesn't take away from the additional benefits of Defender Plan 1 for all of the enhanced email scanning functionality, but there's just a couple of extra link check functions that are being brought down into those base licenses, which is pretty good. I'm always a fan of extra cybersecurity whenever we can get it. And the third one, which is a bit nebulous right now, is Copilot chat enhancements. I can't tell you what that means. I have no earthly idea, other than the fact Microsoft are all in on Copilot, and for better or for worse, that's just, we're going to hear a lot more about that this year. I think in some respects it might be for the worse, because I think people are getting a little bit sick of having Copilot appearing everywhere. It's kind of like the new Clippy, but on steroids. So I don't know what Copilot chat enhancements exactly means, but we do know that Microsoft have got a whole roadmap of further developing Copilot chat. So just for reference to Copilot chat, if you don't know, is the free version of Copilot. So that's the version that comes with every Microsoft paid business license already. That's where you can interact with Copilot via chat. You just can't use it together with the data in your tenancy. So you can't point it at a document, or you can't use it within Microsoft Word to help it write stuff. You can interact with it a bit like having like a ChatGPT or a Claude window kind of adjacent to what you're doing, and then any other interaction with other stuff is manual. So that's Copilot chat, and we're going to get enhancements apparently. So woo! Probably a couple of other things that are worth mentioning in case you aren't aware of kind of what's happening. Microsoft is starting to really increase the amount of AI they're building into things. And the big change that you're going to see on Windows 11, I can't remember the exact release date, but it is due this year for sure. I think it's already actually in test versions of Windows, so it might be sooner rather than later, is Copilot integration with Microsoft Explorer. So we'll actually have some Copilot options within Windows Explorer where you're doing your file and folder management. And that's probably one of the big ones that I'm waiting to see what happens. The last time they tried a desktop level integration was Microsoft Recall, or Windows Recall it's called, which in my opinion is just a hot mess. And by the way, if you have a laptop or a desktop that has a neural processing unit, NPU, or it's otherwise Copilot Plus compatible, you might have seen prompts about Windows Recall. I really strongly advise for now that you keep that turned off. The whole point of Recall is that it does these screenshots every, however many seconds, and then it AI indexes everything on your computer and lets you search it. And there's just been so many security holes with that. I strongly advise you turn it off. Like, do not use Windows Recall, please. In my view, it's a massive security problem still. I haven't seen anything convincing from Microsoft to tell me otherwise. But now Copilot integration for Explorer, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to look or where it's going to go. The initial version of that looks a little bit meh, but no doubt they will rapidly expand and develop the scope of that. And I really hope it doesn't end up being the next Windows Recall as well. So, just to end on the Copilot note, there are ways that we can also look at removing or reducing the presence of Copilot in your Microsoft environment. So if you're finding it getting in the way or you just don't want to know about it, reach out and have a chat. But it is one of those things that Microsoft is going really, really heavy on AI. There's also been some insider news talking about Windows 12, which is the next version of Windows, and we have no official news from Microsoft on exactly what that's going to look like. But it's apparently going to be an AI-based operating system, which just actually scares the bejesus out of me because both my IT and my cybersecurity bones are shaking when I hear those words. But anyway, that's pretty much it for now. Keep you posted as new stuff arises, but there's lots and lots of other little changes happening all the time in Microsoft land. But these are just really the big ones that are coming up that I thought that you would like to know about. Hit me up with any questions. Thanks.